Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
All right. Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Jodi Carr with me here today. Jodi has dedicated the last 40 years of her life to mission and safety critical engineering in the aerospace and telecom industries, from software testing and development through systems integration, project and program management. She's currently serving as the director of engineering at a dynamic engineering services company. Welcome to the show, Jodi.
Thank you, Tim. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, I'm sure I glossed over quite a bit of stuff there. Is there anything else you feel is particularly pertinent to fill in that background?
There's a whole lot to cover in 40 years of a career.
Right.
So, I raised my three children and with my husband, and now we're at the grandparent stage. So
nice.
that all happened in parallel with this focus on my engineering career. So yeah.
Okay.
Now it all
I'm jealous.
comes together. Yeah.
I'm ready to be a grandparent. Although I probably shouldn't tell my 17-year-old son that, but
not quite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
very cool. So how, real quick, how old are you? You have grandchildren. How old are they?
The two oldest boys are one from my oldest son and one from my middle daughter, and they were born a day apart.
Oh, wow.
Quite an interesting 24 hours. They're 9 years old. And
okay.
They'll be 9, in October. And then River, it just turned 4 years old. And then we have another one on the way from my youngest.
Nice.
So
very cool.
This will be our fourth. We're pretty happy. Being a grandparent, there's just it's a whole different world than parenting.
I hope so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot more fun.
Yeah, I imagine you're a lot more confident and you're a lot wiser. I'm sure I could do better if I had more children at this point, right? They're kind of like warm-ups, right? My kids, I think they'll be all right. Maybe they'll be in therapy someday. I don't know.
Well, you certainly become more tolerant of
and patient.
they're into everything, and it doesn't matter if they make a mess in the house. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Those kind of things, you become very tolerant, and you're a better listener. You tune into what is really happening in that child's mind. So, as a parent with 3 kids running around and trying to get ready for work and homework and all, there's just, limited capacity. But it's
Sure.
a very special relationship.
Sure. But you've also touched on some stuff that I'd like to ask you about in terms of leadership, right? And leadership
Yes.
styles and stuff. And obviously, you get wiser, you become a more patient and a better listener, but particularly in this day and age, maybe pre or post COVID, but there's different generations and they all have different sort of goals and ways of communicating. And can you talk a little bit about your leadership style and how that's changed over time?
Yeah. So my leadership style I don't know if it would be laissez-faire, because it's certainly not that. Certainly more servant leadership.
Okay.
I have this image of what I would like to see corporate America come into, and it is not the bureaucratic, hierarchical, autocratic styles of the 1950s, 60s, etc. But very much same with my parenting style is providing direction and guidance and mentorship, and to be allowing that doesn't have to always come from me, but if I can provide the guidance where I think that something valuable can be contributed by a different organization or a different person, then just like shepherding maybe is a better word, is shepherding that information. So I lead managers now, And managers have typically been in the industry for, 10, 20, 30 years. They don't need someone telling them what to do every day. If there is trouble at a client account, they'll knock on my door pretty quickly, and we talk it through and see what maybe the situation maybe needs to go at a higher level even, or if we can handle it at our level, is it going to impact our revenue? So there's certain areas of risk that we have to assess in a lot of different situations. Is it going to hurt our customer client relationship? And who's the right person to get involved? So those are the type of things I'll get involved in. But other than that, I'll go into a weekly status meeting with each of my managers, and they tell me,
Right.
we work it together. Or, if I go down another layer, it used to be that I ran all of the engineers, like 150, 160 engineers.
Wow.
And we didn't have a lot of management support or trained management support. So it became very much an environment where we had to depend on our informal leadership or informal leaders. So we would pick team leads, and then we became organized and structured with this team lead under most of our larger accounts.
Sure.
That became invaluable. And then we bring the team leads together for, I do a quarterly leadership training for the team leads.
Nice.
So that they can learn more about what it takes to, mostly it's self-reflection.
Sure.
It's not necessarily like, how do you lead a team? Because, every team's unique, but
well, before you can really understand other people, you have to understand yourself and what you're looking for and why are you looking for it? Why are you trying to, push a project this way and so forth? And that's, I guess, emotional intelligence that we're trying to key into some more in corporate America.
And to understand, what are the buzzwords, like I mentioned, servant leadership and laissez-faire and bureaucratic. And, so sometimes if you just hear the buzzwords and you can kind of fit yourself into 3 or 4, I don't know, there's countless, maybe dozen and a half leadership styles that are documented. But if you can sort of see the profiles of what those leaders look like, and you can fit yourself in that, then you have more of an understanding that, oh gosh, this style is old, nobody's using it, and try to catch yourself, when you become a little bit dictatorial.
Sure.
That type of thing. And another thing that I find is super valuable is to put mentors in place. It may not be the same person as the team lead, but when we have a new engineer coming on board, we team that person up so they're not out there flailing, trying to figure out this new world, and that's been a very successful model for us.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'd imagine also the gender differences. So I was a physics and chemistry undergraduate major. So I'm a big fan of scientific engineering in all its forms. I was a majority as a male. And when I got more into the biosciences and I got my PhD in neuroscience, it was more split. It was about half and half in the PhD level, at least in the biosciences. But in the hard sciences, not that doing electrophysiology with electron microscopes and all that was a soft science, but like in aerospace and stuff, historically is women are a much smaller percentage. Is that right?
That is right. I haven't found the definitive percentage. So many of the sources will vary, but somewhere between 11 to 15% of women are in engineering jobs in aerospace. When you're going through college, I think the numbers were something like, I'm going to I have to kind of make this up because I don't remember exactly, but like 20% of women
Okay.
started off in the field and they didn't make it past, I think, the first or second year. They dropped out because they felt that it was pretty male dominated.
Right.
And what that translates to, without being too generalizing here, is that sometimes you get lesser assignments and you're
Mm.
trusted in a lesser degree. And sometimes you can sit at not just sometimes, this still happens. You'll sit at a meeting and you'll express your point of view and nobody hears it.
Right.
Now, I've it's happened to me so many times. I actually think it's the tone of the voice.
That's a big part of it. Yes.
It's
Body
soft.
language and tone are huge, right?
Yeah. And throughout history, women have had to learn how to navigate
Right.
so that they could be in real trouble in certain situations if they speak up or they don't agree.
Right.
So we've had to learn to navigate and how to take all of that history, and I'm going to say that it's in our DNA, and then put it in front and center, and be a leader in a field that is traditionally male dominated.
Right.
Some women are very uncomfortable doing that, and the numbers show that. Are we changing? Again, it depends on the source, but yes. I just looked up before I came on some statistics from a company that I have been associated with for a number of years, and they have put in place uh, some programs that are showing the effects of their work, and I think they're up to about 20+% of women in their leadership positions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what
Why,
I was. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, why is that important? Why do we care? Why don't we just all have men? Who cares? That they've been doing a brilliant job in engineering, throughout history. Um, and I've had to sit back and reflect on that. Why? And for me, it's something that's like stuck in my belly, that I have this image that instead of this hierarchical structure that we are living in, where big boss tells you what to do,
Mhm.
so on, that we all are in an even playing field and we're just playing roles. And everyone's opinion is just as valuable as the other.
Sure.
So that image, I don't think, would come out of um, our current structure, if you will. And getting those kind of ideas implemented, the more diverse you have, more diversity of ideas, you can pick and choose from that pool of diverse ideas, and so that in itself, I think, is a key point of having you know different opinions at the table, if you will.
Sure. Sure. And that's kind of what I was hinting at earlier, is that um, diversity brings a better understanding of different people, not also generational differences, right? I mean, just
Right.
the way you need to communicate, and what drives different people, and what's their perspective. So very important to have that diversity for sure. I will touch on the nature of, from my limited background. I know that men generally like things more, and women are generally more social. And so they generally, like, women generally tend to lean towards like nursing, and men generally tend to turn more towards mechanics or something like that. And it's just the interest, right? And there's been some studies that have been done where they've actually tried to get more men to do more nursing and more women to do more engineering, and they did it, but they weren't as passionate about it, because you kind of guided them, and so it's generally best, I think, is still to let them go where they want to go. But to your point, I think they don't, what guides that process, right? What have they been exposed to, right, early on? So that sort of stuff can be pivotal as well.
Exactly. I don't recall, elementary school. Like, no one said to me,
Right.
math is good or math is bad. I just had a natural
Sure.
tendency, and I just loved math, and computers weren't even invented at the time. but when they were and software became a thing, and it's like, whoa, this is so cool. This is so much fun. It was like writing poetry, but I have, there's anecdotal evidence of that, the girls are expected not to like math or science. They're just
Right.
expected not to. So of course they're going to naturally lean to whatever
Sure.
those expectations are. Is that the truth? Is that what's happening? I don't know. I'm not there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's but even so, I mean, there could be brilliant people who, yeah, what you'd hate for them to not follow their heart because of some sort of environmental where their natural gifts, even if they're not as common, if that's your strength, you should be focusing on it.
Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons I got into a leadership position, is so that I can make a difference in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. I like to ask people about, in your personal life, what has been your appetite for risk, right? Maybe also in your professional life, is trying to take on those other roles. Is there any fear of not being right? So your leadership position at work, is there any fear of that being poorly received? Right, if you're being a squeaky wheel trying to change things, type of thing. And how has your appetite for risk changed over time as well?
So I guess there's, so many elements of risk. And if I go
Yes.
back through my career, and simply look at my appetite for risk in the early days, was, there wasn't any limit.
Okay.
I wanted, any shiny object out here, I wanted to go see what that shiny object was.
Okay.
It's been a circuitous route, and life doesn't ever go on, a trajectory that you can count on. So I've taken big risks. I've fallen in big ways. At this point, I am a little more mid-level risk. I guess that,
Okay.
it's a learned response. And I got heavily involved in real estate back in 2004, 2005, when everyone else did. We made piles of money and lost piles of money, and if you came out on top of the game, good for you.
Right.
But boy, did I have fun. Oh my
Okay.
gosh, that was so much fun. So
So can you share a time or where taking a chance led to a substantial reward?
Well, in real estate, just hopping in the whole game, I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
It started off, I had a girlfriend that was going bankrupt, and she had to sell her house right away. And I think I had just gotten my real estate license, and I'm like, I'll try to help you. And then I did the market analysis, and I said, hey, you know what? I'll buy your house. Here's the
Right.
market analysis. And she's like, sure. So I went in, me and my husband fixed it up, and then the paycheck at the end of the day was what? That, engineering is a slow and steady horse.
Right.
But real estate was, we got some quick wins, and that was really nice. It helped get the family through, with 3 kids and cars at that age, and then
Okay.
college and cell phones and insurances and all of that, and keeping all that juggling, real estate, along with my engineering career. I think it maybe probably I don't know if anyone else would think it was a great idea, but to me it was a great idea at the time, and I had a whole lot of fun, and we made a whole lot of money, and yeah, it paid off. And out of the whole experience, I have one house left, or one condo left, and so now I have one of my children living in that house, and
Okay.
it's been a great. I've been very fortunate to have taken that route. I wouldn't have said that while I was, there's certain points in my life I said, oh my gosh, this was hard. But
Okay.
at the end of the day, I learned a whole lot and came out on the good side of things. So yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
Mm.
Well, in addition to showing the success, when you took a chance, I often like to ask about setbacks and what challenges tested your resolve and how you overcame it. But you kind of just talked about, right, how you grow through those.
Oh yeah. Those will skin your knee for a long time. And I did mention that I've gone through some energy type of work to you. And one of the best processes that helped was we had well, I'll just mention the issue. We had this house that we couldn't sell, and it was an anchor, and it was costing us a fortune. And you don't know if you're gonna end up out on the street, because this thing is costing you so much money, and you don't know what to do, and it's a really scary situation. But the process that I used was simply just being okay with not being okay.
Right.
And letting yourself be in the situation, and reflecting that, hey, I'm safe, I'm sitting in this chair, I'm okay, I'm still breathing.
Okay, let's talk about that a little bit more. Can you talk about how you do that and energy
Sure.
work and when did you start
Sure.
doing that?
1994.
Okay. And was there a reason? How was some inciting incident that launched you into energy work?
It was actually accidental, coincidental. Someone came up to my desk, and I was sitting in my office, and they basically just said, "You have got to come here. I have to introduce you to this person." And I'm like, "I'm busy. I don't have time." And they're like, "No, that's not the answer. You come with me now." So, I'm not particularly pliable, but I agreed to, because there was such an urgency in his voice.
Okay.
And so I met this woman, and she was doing Reiki, and she was
Okay.
giving like little samples, and when she put her hands over my head, I could feel the energy going through my body. And that was the first connection I made to, this is not all there is, that you can actually manipulate energy in the environment, or whatever you want to call this, quantum field, if you like. You can do that through your intention. And that was mind-blowing. And I
Sure.
went off and studied everything I could possibly study, and became a Reiki master in 1994. So this must have happened a little bit earlier, because I became a master in 1994. But yeah, that was pivotal. And then how to balance the energy work while I was at work, because you become very aware of people's emotions. You start picking up information about people, so you have to put some boundaries in place, because there's that's not acceptable to go find out about this person because you
Sure.
can. So you really have to learn how to balance, and to honor, and have integrity with your skills, if you will, or your
Sure.
talents.
It can
But
be
yeah,
probably
so
quite a boon in leadership, though.
it can be. It can also be because you feel everybody. A lot of us are very empathic,
Okay.
and some people don't even really realize that they are. You can tell that some person is, but they don't know that they are. But you're feeling all the emotions. And when there's difficult conversations like this morning, I can tell this one guy isn't particularly comfortable, and he's not willing to admit it, and that's okay. So you try your best to make them feel safe, so that there are benefits, and we do this naturally. As human beings, we just don't we don't know the names, so
Right. Right.
what my education has given me names and ways to work with it. And yeah, and so what we touched on before was the technique that I had learned that helped me through some of the most challenging times was called release technique. And now a friend of mine has a business called Clear and Be Calm. And and essentially just letting yourself be in the situation, saying yes to the situation, saying yes to what's going on in your body and your emotions. And as you acknowledge them, you're acknowledging yourself, giving yourself that grace, and then you can move through it easier.
Okay. Wow.
That's a
Well,
nutshell, right?
yeah, that's fascinating. So this is the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, and it sounds like life is going very well for you. Are there things you're trying to do on a personal, professional level to get that prosperity moving forward? Is there energy work you're trying to go out and share more of? Or is there financial stuff like traditional investing, or you real estate? I'm a fan too. So are you still doing that, or what? Legacy plans? You got grandchildren? What are you thinking in that realm?
Yeah, I have a few things in place. I have, my investments, and I'm, playing around with those. I finally just took my old 401ks and consolidated those
Okay.
into some brokerage accounts. Um, and I I want to be able to buy real estate outright. Like Dave Ramsey, man, that Dave Ramsey changed my life. That was a game changer when I met that guy. Not that I met him, but started listening to him.
Okay.
Um, you know, uh,
He has a
and
lot of real estate.
yes, he does. Yes, it's very profitable. But am I out of the real estate business? No, I still love real estate. I just haven't bought any. You know, need a lot of money to go and do something with cash. So we're not at that point.
Okay. Well, if you have funds in your retirement, you moved over. That's how that's some of my first single family rentals I bought through self-directed IRAs accounts, things like
Yeah,
that.
I've heard of that. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I mean, that's certainly something that I wouldn't mind exploring. And then the energy work, I will do more of that as I come into my retirement years, which, after, we've mentioned 40 years background, and I I'm there. My advisor told me that I could retire anytime, and I'm like, not quite. I'm
Okay.
not quite ready. And I have to have something steady where I'm not going to be running in circles around the house looking for things
Sure.
to do. Yeah, I've got
Something
way too
meaningful.
much.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And do I want to do nonprofit? No, I'm not much of a nonprofit kind of gal. I kind of like the balance and the karma, and you put in a day's work and you get paid kind of thing. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So you want some, but I mean, there's different ways of making impact, right? And
Yeah.
um, can you dial back the engineering side, or is that an all or nothing sort of?
I think so. I'm not quite ready. Probably one more year and it'll dial
Okay.
back. When I came into the role, we had my manager was part-time. And
Okay.
I thought, well, if she can do it, I can do it.
Right.
So yeah, I think so for sure.
Okay. Uh, so what is one piece of advice you'd give to someone aiming at similar success?
Just keep the keep the steady pace. Don't give up. It looks scary sometimes, and to challenge yourself, and challenging yourself means it's uncomfortable.
Yep.
And just be there and be okay to be uncomfortable. Um, and and if you take that situation and you come out of it, then you can reflect back on it and get all sorts of amazing goodies that will
Right.
carry you through to the next thing. So yeah, just keep with it, keep the pace.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on? You wanted to promote the Reiki stuff, or resources or anything like that?
Um, well, I am trying to get one of my friends, like I did mention, Be Calm and Clear. That's my friend Hunter Milligan. And I brought him in to do a lunch and learn at my company that was very interesting, and to help engineer. It's actually directed to help engineers with their emotional content.
Okay.
So yeah, so Hunter and I are working together to put that get him moving in his business, and I'm happy to support that.
Okay, nice. Well, as a nerdy introvert engineer type myself, I mean, we do need help with a lot of that. So that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Thank you very much, Jodi, for joining me today, and appreciate you sharing your story and your insights. For our listeners who want to learn more about you or connect, where can they find you? I'm
on LinkedIn, and you can just drop me a message.
Okay. All right. Well, again, we appreciate you sharing your story. Thank you all for watching. See you next time.
Thanks, Tim. Bye-bye.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.